Hey, Devan here. In today's video, I'll be talking about how to use workflows in Qualtrics. So when I first started learning about workflows, I was pretty confused, overwhelmed, and really didn't understand any of the terminology. So in this video, I'm going to break down the concepts of workflows so you can confidently build them in your own projects. And if you don't know what workflows are, it just allows you to trigger tasks based on various events. So simply put, it's a way of automating tasks or processes in response to certain events or conditions. So workflow is made up of components. As we can see here, there's a trigger, there's a control flow, and there's tasks. And I'm going to go through each one of these definitions. For trigger, the definition is the trigger event is what causes the workflow to execute. So you may want something to trigger after a new survey response is received, or maybe a JSON event endpoint is called, or maybe you want to set up a trigger every day at 2 p.m., or maybe you want it when the XM directory context is updated, or when a ticket is updated. So simply put, it's what causes the workflow to execute. Next, we have our control flow. Once the trigger event occurs, the control flow elements are the conditional logic that must be met in order for the workflow actions to be performed. For example, if the CSAT score is 3 or below, or if your embedded data field region equals West. And we have our task. And the task is an action that happens once the trigger event occurs and the control flow criteria is met. So for example, let's say if your trigger event is when a new survey response is received, and if the CSAT score is 3 or below is met, I want you to send an email or create a ticket or distribute a survey or send a Slack message. Extract data from Salesforce, load CX user data, execute custom JavaScript code, or distribute a survey. So basically, a task is what action do you want to happen in the system. Lastly, we have our components. And the components is a workflow component is a trigger, a control flow element, or task, or any combination of these elements that could make up the entire workflow or fragment of the workflow. So let me show you the process I use when building workflows for our clients. I have a column for description, I have a column for triggers, I have a column for control flow, and I have a column for tasks. So if I had an hour to build a workflow, I would spend 50 minutes defining each one of these categories and 10 minutes actually building it in the Qualtrics system. A very common workflow that I build for many of our clients is called the Super Promoter email. As you can see in the description, it involves sending an email to the CSR's manager, which includes positive feedback from the customers, and the manager that can use this feedback to coach their team. So in this particular workflow, the trigger is a receive survey response. The control flow checks if the customer has given a 9 or 10 on the NPS question and whether or not they have left a comment. If conditions are met, the task is to initiate to send an email out to the manager. So by following this framework, it's very easy to build out the workflow in the Qualtrics platform because it's very straightforward to lay out. So let's actually hop into our Sandbox account and create the Super Promoter email workflow. So we go into workflows. We click on create a workflow, start when an event is received. Remember, the trigger is survey response. Click on finished. And right now, the control flow was if a customer were to select a 9 or 10 on the NPS question. So let's build that out right now. So if the customer were to select a 9 is selected. And if they were to select a 10 as well. So if they were to select a 10 as well is selected. And also if the comment is not, if the comment isn't empty. What I want the task to be then is send out an email out to the manager, right? So right now we can just simply fill this out. So we can fill out manager@email.com. The subject line would be this, and then here's the template, and click on save. So there we have it. This is our Super Promoter email. So the trigger is survey response. The control flow conditions is if the customer were to select a 9 or 10 NPS question. And if the comment section isn't empty, what I want you to do is send an email out to the manager. So I hope you found this was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, or feel free to leave a comment down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.